Aloha to those on the World Wide Web. Thank you for joining us today in our virtual segments of the 2021 Celebration of the Arts. Today, as we look back to the source with our artists, we have a special guest star with renowned kumuhula here on Maui, Hokalani Holt. Thank you, Hoku, for being here. Aloha. And our artisan, Leonanai Pahukoa-Meyer. Thank you, Leo, for being here.
Aloha.
You're dealing with the art of lehulu, which is the weaving of feathers together to make beautiful craftsmanship. It's something that I would never be able to deal with because I don't have the patience. Explain to us, how do you go about with sitting down and just being able to just focus on working with such fine pieces like feathers?
For me, I enjoy doing it. It's therapy for me, and the end result is what's very assuring and something that I'm doing that's people love to wear and people love to have, and I'm carrying on old Hawaiian traditions.
How long have you been doing this? When did you begin?
I would have to say probably 1981. Auntie Mary Lou Keku'ewa from Oahu and Auntie Paulette Kahalepuna. They were known as the Feather Ladies on Oahu. I learned from them at Kamehameha schools while I was attending school there, and we had about a 6-week class, and we learned how to make different forms of lei. So we made kamoi style, which is this style, it's flat, and the poi poi style, which is what I'm doing right here.
So did you always know from that first class that, oh, feathers were for me?
No, definitely not. It was so time consuming. The first lei I made, I took apart about 10 times.
Yeah, because every teacher, if it's not perfect, take it off.
Yes.
They'll take it off for you, right?
I literally take off all the ties that I put on it because it was coming out all wrong, different stuff. So they took it apart until it was perfect. So the first lei I made, I think, took me, I don't know, maybe 12 weeks.
Are there easier feathers to begin with, and then you graduate into a more difficult style or difficult feather?
Well, yeah. I'm working here with a almond pheasant. These feathers here are so hard to work with because they're so thin. It takes a lot more to make one lei than the goose feathers that we use nowadays, because back in the day we had the mamo birds, which were the yellow feathers. The iiwi and the apapaneo, the honey creepers, were the red feathers. And those were the feathers that they used. They were thin like this. But now, because we don't have those birds, most of those birds are extinct, we use goose feathers and we have them dyed. So the goose feathers are heavier. They're easier to work with.
And I know Kumu, she mentioned the ancient manu, the birds of our rainforest, and they were tiny birds, etc. So the work was even harder, I believe. But from an environmental standpoint, they may be extinct today, but they were not extinct because of the use of feathers as a prize for our capes, etc.
Firstly, feathers were highly prized. Mm-hmm. Anything made with feathers were highly prized and, in general, reserved for the ruling class. In general, reserved for the ali'i and their capes and their cloaks and their helmets and the lei, because it was only the ali'i that could support the bird catchers as they went up into the forests to collect the individual feathers needed from each of the birds. They were absolutely conservationist in that they knew how many they can take at a time so that the birds can then recoup and grow more. What really caused our native birds to go extinct is avian malaria. It was the coming of avian malaria to Hawaii, and then the loss of their food source, of the plants and the flowers that were their food source, and then the encroachment of humans on their life place.
So we have the lehulu, we have the lepo'o, we have the kahili, we have the lehulu that fly from the main staff of the canoes.
Why is that? Why do they have lei up on the main staff of the canoe? You the canoe guy.
Well, you know, for us being on a canoe, and Hawaiians being so observant, it was the current, it was the waves, it was the birds, it was the clouds, it was the wind, of course. So just like in any windsock per se, this we see the direction of the wind blowing by the way of the feathers, and again, that's respect to that which guides us.
As a seafaring person, you know, the birds themselves have great significance. So to have the lei hulu on the canoe to not only tell you the way that the wind is moving, it is also to remind us that the birds are what lead us to land.
What product are you making right now?
I'm making they call it the wili poi poi with pheasant feathers, and sometimes people call it the kolohala, which is, kolohala is pheasant. So I'm making a kolohala poi poi.
And that would be to go over the shoulders or as a lei po'o? Or?
It's to go over, worn as a lei.
Worn as a lei. And how long would it take you to complete something like this that you feel satisfied with?
Maybe as you get better, I think you can make it faster. For me, it takes maybe about, if I was to work on it, maybe a little over 100 hours it would take me to make one lei.
Wow. Now, looking to the future, are you teaching someone or mentoring anybody to follow in your footsteps?
Actually, I've taught a lot of kupuna when I joined Ahahui Ka'ahumanu, which is an organization for women, and I taught a lot of the kupuna to make, but my nieces, my grandkids,
it's not their
not their thing.
But sometimes it's sad when you don't have ohana that you can pass some of this on to.
Yeah, and it's also, there's not many of us doing lei hulu. It scares me that it will become extinct. Mm-hmm. That it's gonna die out there and no one's gonna pick it up.
Because there's nothing like a master teacher evaluating your work. And maybe I'm gonna tell a secret. Your teacher will test everything that you do. For lei like kamoi, the test is when you run your hand around this and you don't feel lumps. It's all the same feeling all the way around. And you know, your teacher will do that. When you pile your lei, they'll come and they'll do this. And if they feel lump over here, they tell you, take them off to over here. And then you start again. For leis that you make out of flowers or ferns, it is. Turn them to the back side and you look at the back. The front can look beautiful, but if the back is ugly, it is ugly. Yeah, so there is always the test.
And then you've talked about lei makers. Were lei makers primarily wahine, or was it a mix between kane and wahine?
I think there's a mixture, but I learned from two beautiful ladies on Oahu. They've taught a lot of they've had a lot of male students that are really good at it.
And you know, as you're talking about working with the kupuna, much of this kind of work that was done by our kupuna was also social. Yeah. You know, quilting is social, lei making is social. You know, it's also a way to solidify relationships. It's a way to share thoughts and things that you are doing. So it's also a sociable get-together.
And for all the years that you've been coming to the Celebration of the Arts, which is a social event, hands-on, talk story, exchange ideas, has that been one of your rewards? Has you been able to come here and just to be sharing?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely, and it's nice to see, coming to the Celebration of the Arts, you see all the other artisans, you meet up with all the other artisans here in Hawaii, we're all making different things, and you learn from other people, and then you get to bring what you do here too and share it. It's wonderful. It's a great place to do it at. I enjoy it.
Well, we hope that you return for many more years. celebration of the arts will continue for many more years. And please, anytime that you want to share and teach the public here at this hotel, you are very welcome to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2021 virtual segment, Looking to the Source, with Leonanai, Pahukoa-Meyer, and her talent of lehulu, the patience of a very wise woman, and very nimble fingers, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.